A new analysis of the evidence has revealed why the police were able to finally catch up with the infamous Green River Killer after 20 years. According to the FBI, America's most prolific serial killer, Gary Ridgway, confessed to killing 71 women, though he was only convicted of 49. He terrorized Washington state in the 80s and 90s, always targeting vulnerable women and dumping their bodies in secluded areas, which made catching him extremely difficult. It wasn't until 2001 that a breakthrough finally happened. After 2 decades of hunting the killer, police had closed in on him, and this is how they finally caught up with him. When Gary Ridgway was finally brought to justice, he became known as the Green River Killer. But for over 20 years, he evaded the police as he preyed on vulnerable women in Washington state, always dumping his victims' bodies in secluded areas, making it almost impossible to find them. The case remained cold until a new analysis of the evidence finally gave investigators the breakthrough they needed. In 2001, after years of dead ends and false leads, a crucial piece of evidence finally put investigators on the right track. They had been focusing on the wrong kind of killer all along. You see, when the police initially started their investigation into the murders, they were looking for a lone wolf type of killer, a man who was familiar with the area and used that knowledge to dump the bodies in hard-to-find locations. But what if they were looking at this case all wrong? What if the killer wasn't just dumping the bodies in hard-to-reach places because he was familiar with the area, but because he was actually from there? This new theory led the police to focus on residents living near where the bodies were found. And one man in particular stood out as a potential suspect, Gary Ridgway. He was a truck driver who lived in the area and had a history of violence against women. His criminal record showed several arrests for assault and harassment, which made him a prime suspect in the eyes of the police. But they needed more than just a criminal record to arrest him. They needed solid evidence that linked him to the murders. This was a big challenge, because Gary had no obvious connection to the victims and the crime scenes. All of the women he had been accused of killing were sex workers who had gone missing under mysterious circumstances. But Gary had an alibi for each of them, claiming that he had dropped them off at various locations around the city. However, when the police searched these locations, they couldn't find any evidence that these women had ever been there. This led to a stalemate in the investigation, as the police were unable to gather enough evidence to charge Gary with the murders. Then, in 2001, a major breakthrough happened. One of the victim's friends came forward with new information. She told the police that she had seen Gary with one of the missing women, a young sex worker named Mary Ann Pope. According to her, Gary had picked Mary Ann up in his truck and then driven her to an isolated area where he had assaulted her. Although she had managed to escape, she had never been seen again. With this new evidence in hand, the police were finally able to charge Gary Ridgway with murder. He was arrested and taken to court, where he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. After his conviction, Gary confessed to killing 71 women, though he was only given 49 life sentences. He claimed that he had no memory of the crimes, but that he must have committed them. As he was driven away in a police car after his sentencing, he said, "I am very sorry for the families and the pain I have caused them. I wish I could undo it all." However, the families of the victims were not convinced that he was sorry for what he had done. They felt that he had gotten off too easy and should have received the death penalty instead. The case of the Green River Killer remains one of the most notorious in American history. And it serves as a reminder of the evil that can lurk in the shadows of our society. Now check out I Killed More Than 30 Women and I'm Not Sorry, or another real-life horror, Monster on the Loose in Texas.